Greetings, geeks. Welcome to another episode of Geeking Off the Page. I'm Daredevil, and I shag She-Hulk.
And I'm your local Dark Lord of the Sith, or at least medium gray. I'm Trevor.
I'm Gavin, and I'm a Predator's worst nightmare, because you can't see me.
Greetings, foolish mortals, and happy Halloween! I'm Troy, and riddle me this. The man who built me sold me, the man who bought me never used me, and the man who used me never saw me. What am I? And I'd like to welcome you to this Halloween episode of Geeking Off the Page, episode 59. So we are at that time of year again, people. It is the spooky season, and as you can tell from the video portions of this particular episode, which you can tune right in right now to the YouTube version. We're already there because you know what? This drops on Christmas. Christmas? It drops on Christmas. Yeah,
It's Troy's Christmas.
It's my Christmas. It's definitely my Christmas. So yes, it drops Halloween, and both audio and video will be available the same day because you know what? It's Halloween. We're gonna drop it on Halloween. Alrighty then. So you wanna pick up the start there, Trevor, with how we usually go through this?
All right. So, for those of you who've been keeping score, we usually start off with what's going on in the week, things that are new that have dropped. Some things, came along with it being Halloween and all. I'm going to jump right into, well, for anyone who's watching this episode, you can see from my background and my robes, right into Star Wars with the latest episode of Andor on Disney Plus.
How many days till the heist?
The heist is over. Now we're a couple days past the heist, so things are going good.
Where's Heisty?
Oh God, yeah. So we're in basically episode 2 of the next movie they're doing, which is going to be the Prison Break movie. So I was keeping score. First, it was the Get Out of Town movie, the heist movie, and now it's the escaping out of prison movie. So our intrepid hero Andor has been basically at the end of last episode, he got wrongfully committed of a crime he didn't commit while on the lam from a crime he did commit, and got given a 6-year sentence. And now we get to see the prison where he's, it's more of a factory prison. And guess who his foreman is? It's Andy Serkis. Woohoo! Finally, without having to wear a motion capture suit. Anyway, so this episode, Narkina 5, I think that's the name of the planet. So it's every day he has to spend with a group putting together machinery. And it's like 7 tables in the room, and whichever group does the best of that day and number of assemblies, they get flavor with their prison food. That's quite the thing. You get flavor today. Woohoo! And if you're unlucky number 7 of the group, you just get tased. That's your meal. Tased. So it was an interesting concept of how the Empire kind of runs these like factory prisons. And also they didn't exactly explain what he's putting together. I'm going to say right now, my guess is they're putting together the arm assembly connector for probe droids, because it looks like it's a piece that there's connectors where arms would connect to. And you got to remember, I mean, the Empire at this point, they're just getting off the ground. So they're going to
you're saying the base part where the arms attach into and all that sort of thing. I didn't even think of that. That's a good point. I did.
Is it like the little ball joints like the old Kenner toy? I know mine always popped out and stick them back in.
But the thing is I figure at this point the Empire has to make a lot of these things, like a lot, because they can't send garrisons anywhere that there's trouble or where there's suspected trouble. The rebellion really hasn't gotten its feet under itself and get going yet, so they're just having to stamp out distance here and there and here and there. So they're just probably sending thousands of probe droids every day around the galaxy. So they got to get made somewhere, and it's free labor in prison for them. So why not? So yeah. So by the end of the episode, you can, Cassian's kind of seemingly fallen in line with this whole prison thing, but his first thing on his mind is, where's my rubber ball to bounce against the wall, because I'm getting out of here. So yeah,
I gotta jump in real quick. Gavin's Predator morph suit looks like he's wearing an ugly Christmas sweater right now.
It's your Borealis.
Yeah, why not?
So okay,
actually,
back to Andor.
Gavin, the only way it's going to show up is if you actually start talking, so the screen cuts to you, so people can see the effect of the Aurora Borealis.
Yeah, Gav, talk. Talk, Gavin.
I will
damn it.
not.
There we go. He talked.
What'd you just call me?
Exactly. So the only other side thing going on other than Andor in prison is we get to finally meet up with Saw Gerrera. We finally get to see Forrest Whitaker on screen.
Yeah.
And Rael's basically saying Andor is a loose end. He's something that can be tied back to the fledgling rebellion. So he's kind of ordered his troops to see what they can do about silencing Andor. But they don't know where he is. They don't know that he's been caught and trumped up on a charge and chucked into a factory prison. So we'll see how it goes. That's Andor. Anyone have any thoughts?
Well, I was thinking it's again kind of neat because they're showing us new locations that we've never seen and everything. We haven't seen this particular sort of environment
And
before.
we're not on Tatooine.
And we're not on Tatooine. We're not on Tatooine. We're not on a familiar area and all that sort of thing. I mean, that's the nice thing that I really am enjoying about this series is that they are giving you all this new stuff that you've never seen before. You're getting different colors. We're getting different locations. We're getting different characters and all that. We are definitely aware of the fact that this is being filmed in England because everyone has a British accent pretty much, or a localized accent to the area sort of thing. And all
But that makes sense if it's Empire.
Yeah, it's
Is
Empire.
it mostly
totally
Empire?
Is, and it,
yeah.
Exactly, and it totally does, especially if this is the Empire taking over and all that. But a lot of the non-Imperial characters also have the accents and all that sort of thing. But again, it's just something really nice to see, and I'm enjoying the series. Again, I'm looking at it from the story, the mini story arcs that they are. You got to watch the 3 episodes together. You got to watch the first 3, the second 3, and then I'm pretty sure we'll get to the prison escape by the end of this next one, and then we'll have to go on the run from being hunted. You'll be the man on the run being hunted by, it'll be your fugitive episode series where you're running from
or training montage, turning him into a rebellion captain.
Exactly, yeah, something like that.
All the Bantha Poodoo.
Yeah.
This is not taking place on Tatooine?
No, shocking, isn't it?
I am enjoying
have to watch that just because of that.
Well, that's a good reason to watch it. And the other thing is too, because it's, again, like I've stated before, we're not using the volume for this. This is actually physical sets being built. There are green screens, yes, there's stuff and all that, but we're not using the volume. We don't have the digital screen in behind us. You're actually physically building, which is nice that
the volume is being used by other productions and they can't share.
And it's also in the US as well. So, I mean, yeah. But again, it's fun to see that it's a physical grounds route, like Lucas in 77 having to build everything, like all of the sets in like the Death Star were all practical sets with a little bit of, some are done with like the extended digital in-camera effect of the map paintings and all that sort of thing, which is kind of neat. So I mean, I love the fact that the series is seeming more like classic Star Wars, like early Star Wars, and it has that feel to me. The storytelling is, like Trevor has mentioned before, it's a little slow going. It's a little, doesn't seem to give me everything that I want from a storyline and all that. But I'm enjoying just the classic feel of this. It feels more original trilogy than the prequels, and definitely more than the sequels. So
I think my problem with the storytelling is it's so obvious that they've cut this into 3 episode chunks and have just like, oh, that's this movie genre, or they have a specific movie in mind that they're in essence copying, and then it's right to the next one and right to the next one and and it's just, it feels, instead of releasing 1 episode a week, they should just be releasing them 3 at a time.
Yeah.
And just be done with it, because it just, because each episode carries that whole first episode of a 3, kind of introduces you to that movie genre and tries to give you hooks to get to the second one. The second one's nothing but filler to get you to the third one, and the third one's the conclusion. It's just like, it's like watching a bad movie trilogy where you're just like, oh god, here comes the second one, the second episode of the little trilogy. Let's slog our way through it. And all right, and then you're like, ooh, what's the next genre going to be? It just feels like they have groups writing these things, and they're like, oh, what movie genre can we rip off today? So
No, I'll agree with you there. Yeah, it does seem very stilted that it's like, okay, 3 episodes, new genre, 3 episodes, new genre. Yeah. So
would you guys recommend this show to me?
ooh,
I would wait until it's completely, I would wait until season 1 is completely out there, and then, because again, the episodes aren't long episodes. They're less than an hour each. And like the 3 story arcs come up to less than like about an hour and a half, just over an hour and a half, each of the 3 arcs. So you watch the first 3 in a row. And if you can get it to jump from the end of the last scene to the beginning of the next scene, it'll flow a lot nicer than having to do this whole entire, like if you wait a day or to get to the next episode sort of thing. So
just before warn, even if you hit skip recap and then skip intro, you're still going to get the fucking Andor logo come in for no apparent reason,
which seems to get longer and longer each time we watch it.
Just when you say skip intro, that means start just past that stupid like entrance logo. Like, oh, bastards.
Mind you, again, the other thing that was released was Tales of the Jedi. The skip intro is the title screen that says Tales of the Jedi, and that's it. It's like 2 seconds long. Like, what type of skip intro is that?
Yay! Yeah. I skipped a second. So yeah, speaking of, so also released was Tales of the Jedi, which to me was so much fun to watch, because it's in essence 2 stories happening at the same time. And it is the rise of Osaka from basically her as a child up through parts of her training, and it's the fall of Dooku into Darth Tyrannus, to see his dissatisfaction with the Jedi Order, and when he basically, you see when he breaks away, so that the some of the elements in episode 2, like when Obi-Wan's trying to find Kamino and can't find it in the database, this explains why. This explains why Kamino is not anywhere in the Jedi database. We get to see what happened to Yaddle. So if you're like, whatever happened to Yaddle? We find out. And it's interesting that, so we see Dooku's his Padawan, who was Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
And I have to say, the modeling of the young Padawan, you see before he even says a word, you're like, man, that looks so much like Liam Neeson.
Yeah, look like an amazing young.
That's and then when you see him like just shortly after the events during the Phantom Menace, when he comes to reports about the Sith and Dooku's there and they're speaking, I'm like, man, they got a really good voice actor to be. Well, no, that's Liam Neeson. That's got to be. There's no one who's going to have that nuanced way that he speaks. And sure enough, in the credits, Liam Neeson. But yeah, the modeling of Qui-Gon Jinn, there's no mistaking him as anyone else. And there's even a nice little side one of Mace Windu, which was really nice. It's nice to see that the characters kind of outside of the movies, but kind of explaining some of their motivations and why they act the way they do. This doesn't make me like Dooku more, but I kind of see why he was getting fed up with the Jedi Order, of how inflexible they were. And as as Qui-Gon said, it feels like the Jedi are becoming more and more pawns of the Senate. They're not there to keep the peace in as much as, they're mistaking peace for quiet. They're keeping things quiet. So, senators are running roughshod over the people who have elected them or whatnot. And the Jedi are doing nothing but protecting senators. And it was nice to see Dooku's outrage at this senator who was just abusing the rules. And so, if you haven't watched them, I heartily, endorse them. It's only 6 episodes. Absolutely go watch them. They're all written by Dave Filoni. You can tell he's kind of setting some things up. So yeah, absolutely. If you haven't watched them yet, go watch them. Spend that time. It's time well used.
Is it one continuous story, or are they like one-shot stories?
They're like little one-shots. There's 6 episodes. Like the first one is all about Osaka
Ahsoka
Tano
as a baby. Yeah, Ahsoka as a baby. Yeah.
The next one is Dooku and his Padawan Qui-Gon going to a planet to do a Jedi mission. Then it's Dooku and Windu investigating a death of a Jedi, and then it's Qui-Gon after the events of Tatooine with Qui-Gon Jinn and Darth Maul. This is where we see Dooku making that conscious choice of breaking away from the Jedi. And then we go back to Osaka and Anakin. And then finally, after the death of Padme, we see what was Osaka doing after Padme died. And yeah, it's nice.
Okay. Ahsoka. The name's Ahsoka. Ahsoka. I mean, if I didn't say anything, we would probably get some sort of like, hey, why are you guys are supposed to be Star Wars experts. Why are you explaining one of the biggest characters created by Dave Filoni wrong?
All right, I'm going to put a pin in this and say exactly this. I'm in tremendous amounts of pain right now because I have actually torn my shin muscle.
Why would you go and do that?
I didn't do it on purpose, but I spent most of Friday getting x-rays and ultrasounds. And yeah, I've torn one of the muscles on the front of my shin. And it hurts a lot. So, and I can't take much. I can just take like ibuprofen and acetaminophen. So, yeah.
When Trevor's in pain, he likes to say Ashoka.
Yeah. So, I'm going to say if someone has a real problem with the way I'm pronouncing names, I'm right here. Come on up.
Come at me, bro.
Yeah. I'm not even going to say come at me. Just come on up and speak into the microphone. It's right here.
All right.
That's a challenge.
It is.
Did either of you guys get around to Tales of the Jedi?
No. I'm watching another show.
Did not.
Gavin, I just want you to speak up right now because I want the video to cut to you right now because people have got to see.
Why would you want that? No one wants that. Absolutely no one wants
It's just
that.
a floating head, Troy.
See, I told you the Invisible Man was the best Universal monster.
No, he's not really invisible because everything's kind of offset a bit. So
yeah,
only like the hunter with like the one lazy eye is like, what? I don't see nothing.
It's stealth camouflage. It's just not functioning slightly.
If he's being hunted by Marty Feldman, he's perfectly fine. And the other nice thing about Tales of the Jedi, it's the Clone Wars type animation, and it's short episodes. They're like I think 8-9 minutes long.
Yeah, they're not that long, but honestly, they're not long enough.
They pack a lot of punch in that short little time.
They do. They
catch that then for sure.
Yeah, it's.
I thought
there's more coming because this was the taste of Star Wars I needed.
Yeah, exactly. The first the stunning thing that caught me off guard was I mean the infant Ahsoka story was kind of cool and all that sort of thing. That was nice to see her tribe and all that sort of thing. But in the second episode where we're introduced to the young Dooku and young Qui-Gon, when Dooku ignites his lightsaber and it's the same bent hilt and all that sort of thing, and it's a blue blade. I'm like, whoa, wait, what? Huh, what? Oh, right, of course. Yeah. It would not be red, but yeah, it was so cool to see that sort of thing. But and then to see him sort of go dark side a little bit in it and all that, and you can like the music tone changes, and he's like, yeah. So it's yeah. But yeah, no, the rest of them, and yeah, I was like, oh, Yaddle. All right, excellent.
Yeah, I also like the fact that Yaddle is voiced by Bryce Dallas Howard.
Yeah, that is cute. Yeah.
Kind of keeping things together.
Yeah,
and
Captain keeping Rex it all in the family.
Shows up.
Yeah,
Captain Rex is there.
Right, I forgot about that. Rex is because they're in Clone Wars with the So of course, yeah. I completely forgot. Yeah,
and it's nice. It's nice because the part of it is, so Anakin wants her trained in non-standard, like basically tested the non-standard Jedi ways. So he has a bunch of clone troopers surround her and firing stun bolts at her and getting her used to blocking them to the point where we see her develop her double blade style. Which is nice because she switched from single blade and suddenly she's using dual blades. You're like, oh, why the switch? Yeah. This explains why the switch, but also explains why in the Clone War and Rebels, how she got like how she evaded Order 66, how she and Rex were able to fight through a ship of through a whole ship full of clone troopers and escape. Well, it's because she trained because of at Anakin's insistence to be able to block stun bolts, and they probably weren't trying to stun her at the time. So yeah, it explains why she got so good. Although
Cool.
I do like the second setting on the little trainer droids. Because normally just a single blast when they open up and they got like quad cannons on them.
Yeah, exactly. Extra firepower. Yeah.
I'm surprised they just don't have those as like, when a Jedi's running into battle, you just have like 7 or 8 of these little trainers with like the safety restrictions pulled off, and they just volley fire at whoever they're fighting. Because they're mobile and they're accurate. So yeah.
All right. So moving on. What's next, Trev?
Well, you had not really challenge. You had asked us to watch a horror movie on around Halloween of all times. Like,
yeah,
who the hell does that? Anyone watch a horror movie? Anyone? Mike, did you watch a horror movie?
No, I didn't. I'm going to talk about an old one.
All right. How about you, Gavin? Did you watch a horror movie? Gavin?
I certainly did.
Oh.
He has to adjust his mic. Oh wait, I'm up here.
I gotta turn on my hearing aid. Your pies.
Up is mute. Down is not mute.
Yeah, that's his invisible ear.
Hey, so Gav, did you watch a horror movie?
I did. Yes, I did, Trevor. I did watch a horror movie.
Holy Christ! It's like pulling hen's teeth.
And what was the horror movie? And what was the horror movie that you watched, Trevor?
Oh, well, I didn't watch just one.
Oh.
So I watched The Black Phone. Which,
yes.
as a father, I was a little creeped out and very
angry
about.
Yes.
I watched It Follows, which is a very funny horror movie, in my opinion. And then I watched Barbarian. And I watched Barbarian with absolutely no context going into it, thinking, oh, is this going to be like a sword and sorcery, like Conan the Barbarian movie? It was not a Conan movie.
Okay, stop right there. Other guys, have you seen Barbarian yet?
I have not been able to. Don't watch it?
And I'm not going to plan on watching it.
It's a great movie. It's a great movie. Just I have the following stipulations. Don't watch it at night. Don't watch it alone. Don't eat before watching.
Don't watch it in the dark. Don't definitely watch it with someone else. It definitely do not
have
watch
someone
it by
that at worst case scenario you can throw a pillow at.
Yep.
Or in some cases trip, so that way you have chance to get away. And definitely don't eat before watching.
Would it be good to watch like in a crypt or a sewer, alone on your phone?
Yeah. While eating
with
like
headphones.
Something from Subway.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I'll leave that one for the last.
Okay.
Yeah. But you guys can start. Someone start with their horror movie that they did watch. Either your old one or new one.
Go for it, Mike. Go with yours.
Story time.
Yeah, okay. Story time. Go, Mike. Go.
So, okay. I'm not big into horror stuff. And I'm going to do a little preamble on this just for fun, because I've been thinking about this a lot since last week. So one of the reasons I'm not big into horror films, like I don't mind the shock. I don't mind the yaw. I don't mind like the poor souls getting tortured. But to me, I want to have something like an anchor point, some sort of morality anchor point. And I was thinking about this a lot over the week. Like if it's Friday the 13th and Jason's going around murdering everybody, I want the Punisher to show up and just start killing them. Like that's what I want. I like that kind of stuff, right? So if it is Barbarian, I want to see Clint Eastwood show up as Dirty Harry. Like, go ahead, make my day. That's the kind of stuff I like, and I don't mind it when the stories take a dark turn. Game of Thrones, that has a lot of stuff that's borderline horror in it, but there's extra stuff for me to sink my teeth into. Just the horror for the sake of horror, I'm just meh. It's not my thing. So that was my revelation. Think about that stuff this week. Now, the movie that popped into my head is because I've been watching The Expanse, and there's another movie that came out back in 1997 about a spaceship that was able to fold space and somehow ended up in hell. And that's a movie that I went into, with my new bride, and we didn't know what we were getting into. We was like, hey, let's go see this science fiction movie. And then it suddenly took a very dark turn. And I don't know if I've ever seen it since. I think I might have watched it once on video afterwards. But that initial experience of sitting in the theater and, hey, it's a happy science fiction movie. Wait, it seems kind of creepy. Ooh, is this sort of like Aliens vibes? I don't know. And then it turns into like a full horror in space. And that's the first one that popped into mind. And again, I was getting those kind of vibes even watching The Expanse, because The Expanse has a lot of that kind of vibe in it. Great cast. Morpheus is in it, which is cool, right? Lawrence Fishburne, Sam Neill. You can't go wrong with the cast in it. And it was interesting looking at all the backstory of the making of the movie and how it's like, hey, Titanic's not done. Let's crap out this movie as fast as we can and cut out all these things. But to me, that initial theater experience, it held up. I was terrified. I don't like that stuff. I'm like covering my eyes. When's it going to stop? But I thought it was a fun horror movie. And so that's the one that popped into my head.
And you have yet to
And
see
the
the
name
title.
of that movie is called
Event Horizon.
There you go. Okay. I'm like, when's he gonna say it? Is he gonna say the name now? Is he gonna say the name? I mean, as soon as you said the year, I'm like, oh, he watched Event Horizon. I wrote it down on the notes and all that sort of thing. I'm like, he hasn't said it yet. He hasn't said it yet. No. And that again is a fantastic movie to go into, like you did, blind. And it is such a great thrill ride of a movie, especially at the time too. And like you said, it's a phenomenal cast. And it's basically like Alien versus Hellraiser. It's like if Clive Barker wrote a sci-fi, like a sci-fi space movie. It is so good, and it's compelling, and it's engaging, and a great thing is the atmosphere is part of the biggest scare of that movie. Like, they don't show some stuff and you're still terrified because you don't know what they're going to show you, and they keep you guessing throughout the whole entire movie whether they're going to show you the great horror and all that sort of thing. And yes, there is some very scary visuals and all that, but a lot of it is the suspense that they put into it. It's a beautifully done movie, and I am so happy that you were able to see it without knowing anything, and it's a theatrical viewing, because I unfortunately only saw the movie on home video. I never actually got to see it in the theater. So
it's on theater.
Oh yeah, it was an experience, and apparently it bombed. With the budget.
Totally did.
It lost a third of the production cost, but I guess it did so well on video that they wanted to do a re-release, but they lost all the film and they couldn't do it. So yeah.
All right, what do you got there, Mr. Gavin? You're next.
Well, I'll preface this by saying that I don't generally like horror movies in the traditional sense. Yeah, I see you rolling your eyes there, Trev. I see them. So like the staples from the 80s, like Jason, Freddy Krueger, Chucky, all of these you rely on shock and scare tactics. The build up, there's always the violin build up, and then it's just a cat, and then there's another one, and oh, it's the cat again, and then nothing, and then all of a sudden whatever it is jumps out and myrtleizes everything. It's like I've always hated those cheap scares, because the music is designed to basically make you jump. That's it plays you like a film. I jump every time. I sometimes make a small shriek sound, similar to Dead Space, but at least in this case, I'm controlling the narrative in Dead Space. At least I'm armed, whereas in the theater watching Freddy go slicing and dicing teens. So some friends introduced me to the zombie genre, and some of the classic ones, Day of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead, with some of the grossest creature makeup stuff I've ever seen, and that like pulling intestines out of someone, or like someone's head gets chopped in half and you see like the eyeball drop out. Part of me was just like, well, that's kind of cool. Gross, but cool. And then they started dabbling, in the 2000s, they started dabbling more and more into the comedy horror genre, which I could get behind because it's funny, gross, but funny. The to me, the sort of the granddaddy of it all was Shaun of the Dead. Great humor, like the 2004 part of the Cornetto trilogy, directed by Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg. So the writing was phenomenal. The joke spot on, and it was had that little bit of scare edge to it, but not like make you like run out of the room like what apparently Barbarian sounds like it's going to make you do. So the one that really grabbed me and just wouldn't let go was Zombieland. Just so like it gave birth to so many of the horror the zombie staples, like always double tap, always carry toilet paper, all of the rules of surviving a zombie apocalypse. Jesse Eisenberg, he was perfect as what the hell does he call him? Columbus, yes. And then you had Woody Harrelson as Tallahassee, Emma Stone as well. They were fit. Wichita, yeah. Thank you for Trevor. But he's got it right on his fingertips, doesn't he?
I just watched the movie like a couple days ago. So.
Oh well, there you go. Just so many subtle things in this movie. Do you guys remember the supermarket scene where Tallahassee's got the gardening shears? He's the big zombie kind of starts running towards him. So he's after Twinkies, right? There's Twinkies on the shelf. He runs past them, and he never gets his Twinkie until
he was busy.
But it was the combination of great one-liners, great action, and possibly some of the grossest zombies I think I've ever seen. Like the black ichor kind of like leaking from their mouths and shit like that. That was squeamishly disgusting. But I could watch that movie again and again. I can't get Amanda to watch it, even though I'm trying to kind of give her a gentle ease into the comedy horror genre. I am going to try to get her to watch Cabin in the Woods at some point. That's a great homage to the Scooby-Doo gang, honestly, just without the dog and more gore. But Zombieland was my pick this week.
All right. So when it came down to my choice, I was perplexed because I wanted to talk about the scariest movie that I had seen, and it actually took me to practically Thursday of this week to figure out what I was going to talk about, because I just kept going through every single thing. And like in Trevor's top 10 list, I had a list of like 30 some odd movies that I had written out, and I'm like, okay, which one's the scariest? And I didn't make them in order. I just started writing out movies that I thought was, okay, this is scary, this has got some cool stuff, this is all that. And it took me forever to dwindle it down to what I wanted to do. And then I mean, I didn't want to talk on about my favorite horror film because it's the number 3 on my top 10, American Werewolf in London. I've talked ad nauseum about American Werewolf in London. It's just part of my makeup. American Werewolf in London will always be the best. So that I didn't want to rehash that once again. Nightmare on Elm Street is up in my top 10. And again, I've talked on about that as well. So I wanted to approach something new that I hadn't really discussed a lot about, and a genre of film that I actually enjoy within the horror genre. And I decided to watch again for the unknown time and all that, because I've just lost track of how many times I've saw this movie. But this is a movie that I saw back in 1999, summer of 1999. I believe it was the end of July. And I believe I saw this movie with Derek, Tour, and Trevor as well, if I remember correctly. We went out to buy tickets to see the movie. We weren't able to get to the early showing because, you know, it was a time when you couldn't buy tickets online very easily. So we bought tickets for a late show. So we decided to go to Boston Pizza and scarf down as much food to satisfy us and then go to the movie afterwards. And as we sat through this whole entire movie, the meal just didn't settle well with me. This was a handheld camera movie, motion sickness, and a little upsetting, and threw me right off. And I will tell you that the Blair Witch Project scared the crap out of me. Now, a lot of it was because of the situation I was in.
The pizza?
The pizza definitely had everything to do with my uneasiness throughout the sitting of this movie. It's only like a 81-minute long movie and all that, but I was so caught up into it because we actually got caught up into the whole entire, like, the promotional stuff, all the online stuff. It was one of the first movies that had done viral marketing before viral marketing was even an actual thing. We went to the website, we saw all the, like, the history of what these 3 kids that have gone missing. There was posters and all that they had printed up that have you seen these missing kids and all that. We went and saw all the archive footage, using quotes, footage of what the Blair Witch was, what's went on in the Blair in the witch the Blair area and all that, and what it meant. So we had more information about the movie that wasn't actually given to you in the movie. I mean, it was very subtle, it was very whatnot, but we had more information and when stuff happened and all that. I will tell you that closing shot of Michael standing in the corner with his face turned to the corner chilled me to the bones. And I will, without a word of a lie, had nightmares for at least 3 months. Not like every single night, but for about 3 months running, I would have nightmares where that shot I would have in my dreams, and I would always wake up in a darkened room and not convince myself that I was still asleep. That shot of Michael standing in the corner in black and white, knowing what was about to happen to the person holding the camera and all that, which is something that they don't really explain much in the movie. They hint at sort of things, but if you did your research beforehand, you found out what the reason why that he was standing in the corner sort of thing. And it just chilled me to the bone. And to this day, even when I even think of it, or I'm just going through like pictures of like the cast and all that sort of thing, if I see a photo of that final shot of Michael standing in the corner facing the corner of the wall, the skin, I start to get goose pimples on my skin and all that. The hairs on the back of my neck sometimes stand up. And as I was figuring out what I was going to do, I was like, okay, I'm going to write up something quickly to see it all that. And then I was coming to the scene, and that final scene, and hairs back on the neck started to stand up and all that. So I loved that movie, and I so was put off at the time seeing it. And again, it was the situation. I was sitting there in a movie theater. It was a packed theater too, because it was opening weekend. It was the 4 of us, right, Trevor?
It was. I had the big brute at Boston Pizza.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And we scarfed down a lot of food. And in comparison between the other 3 guys and me, I'm a very small guy, but I can pack in a lot of food as well. So, but we also had to rush it because we only had like an hour and a bit to get to our next showing and all that. So we thought, sure, we got plenty of time. And of course, it took forever to get the food. And then we're all like shoving it down. And then you're sitting in this packed theater. It's the middle of summer, even though the air conditioner is on. And it's one of the smaller theaters, I believe, as well, that we were sitting in. And so it was just, and the shaky cam, and like oh man, thank God. But it's such a beautifully done movie. And then when you go back and find out how it actually was done and what it actually went into, because I mean, you're not going to watch a snuff film. They're not going to release a snuff film, but the work that they put into putting this thing made it such an amazing project to be part of. Just was so good. And that's why I I will always go back to Blair Witch as one of my favorite horror films. So that's the horror film that I went through this weekend. So
That's
this
one
week,
that I saw with the new bride, a couple years after the honeymoon, but this was 1 month before my oldest daughter was born. And so we're in Hawaii watching this one. And
right.
it was a good experience. One thing I liked about it was it did seem like it was almost a snuff film.
Mhm.
And from a filmmaker point of view, you realize, wait a second, you can actually release a theatrical release with like handheld cams and
Well, this movie's credited with reviving
found footage.
found footage technique and
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
storytelling.
Yeah.
So a lot of other films came out because of this film.
Yeah, yeah.
And also the fact that they made this film for a budget of like $500,000 and pulled in like almost $250 million. I
Yeah.
mean, every distribution company was like, we got to make some found footage films.
Yeah,
And I think what made this film work is we never saw the witch ever.
Yeah.
There was so much alluded to.
Wasn't there one shot?
Nope.
Wasn't there?
Actually, there was actually supposed to be a shot, but the sequence when they're running through the forest and they're like the camera, like they're running through the forest, the camera was supposed to turn and see. Apparently, the director was supposed to be dressed up in some sort of costume to scare them that was supposed to be off to the side, so you just get a glimpse of it. But the camera footage never captured him, so they never got the shot that they wanted to.
And
Okay.
I think that's what made it so successful is
exactly, yeah.
we never saw the witch.
Mhm.
And at the very end, when she's standing there with the camera and you see Josh in the corner and she's calling out to him, and I bet every person in that theater was like, wait a second, they were always murdered in pairs and one had to stand in the corner.
Stand in the corner, yeah.
He's standing in the corner. And it's like the camera's knocked to the side and it's still focused on him in the corner.
Yeah.
And you hearing sounds and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Dude, you explain it to me. It's getting me like chills and all that sort of thing.
And I remember sitting like when we were in the audience, like in the audience, and at that people were just freaking out. They're like, "He's standing in the corner. He's standing." And then when the camera gets knocked over, I remember there was like a girl like halfway down the road from her. She let out like a soul-piercing shriek.
I was just about to say it was a definite shriek.
Yeah,
and it was a fantastic way to end that movie.
And the fact that movie ends right there, and people are, and I just remember thinking they never showed the witch, not once. So it's all left to your imagination what she looks like, what she can do.
Yeah, it's weird because I have a clear image in my head. I haven't seen this movie for a long time, but I have an image. So if that's the image my brain created, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those Mandela effects of people like, oh yeah, I saw the witch and she was never in it. So yeah. And it's kind of cool that people will come up with their own a version of what this witch looks like, but there's no witch.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, subsequently they made video games based on the 3 different storylines that make up the Blair Witch storyline. So yeah, it's just but that's one thing. That's one of the reasons why that movie stuck with me so much because
I think it's
experience of seeing it.
The 2016 remake. They actually put the witch behind her at one point.
Yeah.
And I think that's the image a lot of people see. But the closest thing they had to that is like that stick scarecrow thing.
Yeah.
That's the closest because you'd see them hanging there. But that was along with a bunch of the promotional and all that sort of thing. So yeah. But we never got to see her, and I think
the original never showed.
That's what made that film so successful. It's almost like Jaws. The less you show the shark, the more terrifying it is.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
okay. So what are you going to talk about, Trevor?
I have a couple. So I'm going to first talk about it's a 2014 film called It Follows, which initially I thought it was a comedy because it was just so over the top stupid. Basically, in a nutshell, it's the ghost of STD.
It follows.
It's the whole thing that if you have sex, you have passed on the curse to the person you had sex with, and now they have the it is basically it'll be someone that they know or some relation to in some way. just walks towards them and get close to them, get their hands on them, it'll kill them. And it has sex with their corpse sort of thing. And then it'll go after the person previous. So this whole thing follows this girl. I just saw, what the hell's her name? Jay? Yeah, Jay. So she falls for this guy, they have sex, and she wakes up and she's like tied to a wheelchair because he's trying to prove to her that this is real. This it is real. And so, and he explains the rules that, to get rid of it, you got to have sex with somebody, and then it'll go after them. But if it kills them, it'll then go after you. So you want to get further down that chain if possible. But with the help of her friends, they do this whole thing. Like, it comes after a couple times, and like, the person following the it sometimes is naked, but no one else can see it but the person that it's after.
That it's targeted.
But it can physically affect the world around it, so it can like push people out of the way, but they can also push it. So at one point they like throw a sheet over its head and they like shoot it in the head and push it into a pool and shit like that. But it just seemingly recovers and still keeps coming after them. As I said, this movie was funny to me. It was just like, I'm thinking like, okay, if you can throw a sheet over it and you can shoot it in the head, throw a sheet over it, wrap it up in a rope, and just hang it somewhere. It ain't getting down. No one's gonna help it. Anyways, yeah. So, movie was a fun watch. It was, as I said, more of a comedy to me than anything else. It was a very successful movie. I do recommend it as a light horror movie because it's really not that scary. Maybe some jumpish sort of scares, but yeah. So that would be a horror movie recommendation. Then we go on a little less of the lighter side. This one just came out in 2021. I just saw it on Peacock because it's streaming. The Black Phone. As a parent, this movie kind of disturbed me because it's all about, this takes place in 1978, and there's a masked child abductor serial killer named the Grabber who's going around grabbing kids off streets. And so we got this guy, Finney, this young kid, Finney, who's kind of bullied at school. And his sister, Gwen, who has like psychic dreams, but their dad's an alcoholic, doesn't believe them, kind of, just a real dick. Anyway, so this grabber, grabs one of Finney's friends and then grabs another of his friends and then eventually grabs Finney himself. And he wakes up and he is in a soundproof basement. And on the wall is a disconnected black rotary phone. So for anyone born in more of the digital age, they were like, "What's a rotary phone? Why? How do you die?" Anyways, that's not the point. But it doesn't work. But when he picks it up, the phone rings. He picks it up and he can hear, voices. And one of them is one of the kids, Bruce. It's his ghost telling him that how to escape, how he can dig a tunnel to escape. And every time the phone rings, it's another victim with more information. So at one point they tell him, don't go upstairs because the grabber there is actually awake and waiting for you to go up the stairs so he can beat you with the belt to kind of like break your will sort of thing. Meanwhile, there's a couple of detectives kind of going around trying to canvass the neighborhood. And at one point they speak to the brother of the grabber, who doesn't realize that his brother's the grabber and that it's the kid's in his basement sort of thing. But this was such a difficult movie to watch as a parent because you're like, what if that was my kid? And yeah, this was initially could have just been like, oh, the guy who's child abductor, but when they added the twist with the phone connecting to all the victims, that and each would like, one gives them a combination to a lock, the other says you can use this, like this item is over here sort of thing. It was almost like a video game in a way where you're being given hints that there's no way you would know yourself. It was such I'm not gonna say a fun movie, but it was a very enlightening movie. But again, as a parent, it was a difficult movie to watch because you're like, the fact that these sorts of people do exist. Yeah, so it made it a little bit tougher to watch, but it is a movie I do recommend. Ethan Hawke as the grabber, he
is creepy as shit.
He is, and the mask he wears
is Yeah.
It is very fucking creepy and a great movie to watch on Halloween. Watch it at night, watch it alone, watch with some popcorn. You're all good. Leading me to my third movie. Do not watch at night. Do not watch alone. Do not watch while eating anything. In fact, if you can have the stomach for it, wait until after and see if you're hungry. This movie is the 2022 film called Barbarian.
Okay, Trevor.
Uh-huh.
I know we're a spoiler cast,
Uh-huh.
but
I'm not going to spoil this one. I'm not going to spoil
okay,
this.
good. Okay, because I want. I mean, if all four of us have seen the movie, I'd put a big warning at the beginning
Yeah,
saying, "Hey, anyone listening to
I'm
this."
not going to spoil this one because this is a
Okay,
movie
good,
that people need to
okay.
experience on their own.
Yeah, no, yeah.
So
yeah.
I watched this movie with zero information ahead. I did not know anything about this movie. And from the title, I was like, ooh, it's going to be like a sword and sorcery Conan sort of style movie. It is not a sword and sorcery Conan movie. I'll tell you, that's the only spoiler I'm going to. There is no Conan swinging a sword anywhere in this film. Just no, it's not going to happen. So take that thought, rip it right out of your head because you'll just be disappointed. This movie is violent. This movie is kind of terrifying in some of the subject matter. There are some surprising characters in this film. Justin Long's in this film. Bill Skarsgård's in this film.
Oh yeah, I see what you mean. I see what you mean by characters. I'm like, what do
Yeah,
you mean by
but
characters?
also the
I mean,
characters
you
that
mean
they
the actual,
play.
yeah, they play.
The characters that they play are there's just some difficult, and this movie has an interesting thing, or it's not a long movie, it's about an hour and a half, and there's a point where the movie goes along and this just suddenly does like a hard pivot, and a character that you had seen before that you're like, oh, does the hard pivot on you, and you're like, what and it leaves you kind of like on shifty ground. You're not sure where you are at that point in terms of like, who the hell do I trust? Who the hell am I cheering for at this moment?
Yeah, no, I see. I know what you're trying to say and what you're trying to avoid saying.
Yeah, I'm trying to avoid saying because I really don't want to
yeah.
spoil this for people because
Yeah.
when enough people have seen this film, I will be happily to spoil the shit out of it for those who don't want to see it. But
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
this is a movie that if you have the opportunity to watch it, please do. Just follow my rules, not at night, not alone, and not after you've eaten something or while you're eating something. You're not going to be hungry. So that's all I'm going to say about it. But again, this is a movie that has started with, it was a low budget, but has actually made a fair amount. This movie has made almost 10 times as much money as it cost to make.
Yeah.
Which is
it had a fantastic theatrical release. And again, like when I told you guys about this, because it just got released this week onto Disney Plus, which is fantastic that we got to see it on Disney. But yeah, it was, and again, when I like, oh, it's on Disney, I gotta see if these guys, like, I wanted to put together a watch party for us all to watch it, but I knew that was gonna be impossible for the four of us to get together. I mean, even if we did all want to watch it, which, because I know someone in this chat is not even gonna consider going near watching this, but I mean,
Gavin.
But yeah, because every single time I've heard other podcasts talk about this movie, they didn't want to spoil it. They wanted to make sure that you experience it the way that me and Trevor experienced this, with no going into it.
It's why I'm being very vague about the plot and about the characters, because this was a movie that I, again, not expecting what I was given, and I couldn't even guess. So some of the plot twists and turns caught me completely flat-footed. Now, looking back, they do a really good job of foreshadowing some of these big plot points, but they obscure them in such a way you just kind of dismiss them until after it happened. You're like, oh yeah, of course I should have seen that coming because of this. And so it's almost worth watching it a second time once you know what all that's, all the players and all the particulars, and catching all that foreshadowing, because they do a beautiful job of putting it in there.
I have the advantage of being able to watch it a second time with Adrian, because I think I've convinced her to actually watch it with me, but I couldn't wait for her to be able to watch it with me. So I watched it by myself, which again was a stupid thing to do and
Violated the rule.
But yeah. So, but it'll be nice because I'm going to see if I can maybe record her reactions, because she's always entertaining to listen to when you do that sort of thing. So who knows, in the future episode, there might be something of that there. So
here's a question for you guys. I got a question. Given what I had said, my views on these kind of horror movies and thriller movies and all that kind of stuff, like, is there an anchor point with some morality that makes it happy, like the Punisher coming in and killing everyone, or Dirty Harry blowing away the bad guys? Like, is there?
I'm not going to say.
Yeah, I can't tell you that either, Mike.
Because
I'm
that gives
sorry.
away a giant plot point if I say anything to that effect. So
either way, if we say yes or no, it taints the actual experience of the movie. I'm sorry. Mike.
Yeah,
I'm going to say this, Mike. If you get the opportunity to see it, see it.
Yeah.
This movie, I believe, is one of the biggest sleepers of this year.
Yeah.
Like, it's
for me, the genre, I'm just not into it.
I know it's not a genre you like, but honestly, this is the sort of movie that in a couple of years, after, you know, all the secrets are given away and people are going to be like, it's going to be in the public consciousness, you're going to be kicking yourself for not seeing it sooner.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a good point, because it's well acted, it's well written, it's well produced, it's such a well put together experience too. And the fact that you got to take this in consideration, Mike, that the actual audience out there that is doing this is basically going, no, we're not going to spoil this. We want you to experience this for yourself, because if we tell you anything, it's going to taint, it's not going to make it as enjoyable. You've got to see it. And then, I mean, we're not going to hold you down. We're not going to friggin' go Clockwork Orange you, strap you to a chair with your eyes open and force you to watch this movie.
Why can't we?
Gavin.
No, I'm just
say something, Gavin. Say something.
This is a movie that I feel is going to embed.
How should I say something?
The social environment that we live in.
I hope that picks up.
And if you don't see it, you're going to miss some of the connotations that it entails. I mean, you might get a general understanding, but you're going to miss a lot of the subtle details. So,
and I have a feeling I'm probably still going to jump at some of the sequences and all that. And
I'm going to say right now, that scene in Jaws when Ben Hicks comes swinging down through the hole in the boat, I still jump.
Exactly. Even
I know it's coming.
Know.
The music sets it up, and I'm like, here he comes, and he swings through, and I still
jump. Yeah,
every goddamn time.
Great example.
I've seen
That's
that movie so
example,
many times I can repeat the dialogue. So jump scares are jump scares. They just happen.
Yeah,
shows you're alive. Yeah, that's my recommendation is just watch it. I feel this movie is going to be big enough of a phenomenon for this year that, because the fact that the audience is telling other people, no, I'm not going to tell you what the story. You got to go see it for yourself. That should be a good indicator.
I'm still not sold.
It's like someone coming out of the theater after Star Wars, and they're like, "What happened? Stuff, things. Go see it."
You're really comparing
Star Wars. Skywalker's father?
No, that's Empire Strikes Back. Jeez, Gavin.
That guy coming out of Star Wars is a jerk, man.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Coming out of Star Wars going, Luke is Vader's son, and people are like, what?
What?
That doesn't make any sense. I mean, the guy with the 18-wheeler style ship has a better chance of being his son.
All right, what's next on the docket here?
Quantum Leap.
All right.
Oh.
I could get into some Quantum Leap.
Oh, yeah. Settle in, Mike. Settle in. Monday was the most recent episode of Quantum Leap.
Was it amazing?
So it was dealing with the 1989 earthquakes in San Francisco, which, by the way, I remember watching TV and waiting for this game to start, and then there's like the whole disruption, and you see like section of the freeway had fallen, and it was just like holy. I remember just as a kid just be like, what the it's the first time I've ever seen an earthquake that disruptive. And by the way, they just got hit by an earthquake, I think earlier this week, like a 5.1 or something like that.
Oh,
Anyways,
really? Wow.
yeah, I personally have been through 2 earthquakes. I am not a fan of the experience, and I would rather do like a hurricane or something. Tornado or like earthquakes suck. There was the one we had at White Oaks Boulevard on the 15th floor. That was a little
That's
unnerving.
right. Yes, that was not.
We thought it was blasting across the street for the the new buildings over at Sheridan. No, that was a minor tremor through the Canadian Shield. And I had one in Philadelphia just shortly after Josie was born. And I was standing by the door and she was my arm, and you could just feel like a low rumble. And I just came out of the house. And I remember walking up the side of the street. Now we were living in row houses, and I looked back and all the row houses are just kind of shifting side to side. And you could feel the ground under my feet kind of doing it as well. And I'm like, this is not good. And then it settled, and then all the news agencies were blaring, with the earthquake, and I was just like, oh, I don't want to do this again.
Yeah, we had a couple in Berkeley when I was there, and it feels like it's some sort of construction vehicle doing something or like drilling there. It's like, what the hell is that? All the locals are like, oh, it's just an earthquake. Oh, great.
Yeah, it's like, oh, it's just like flying monkeys attack.
You guys are way too nonchalant about that.
Oh yeah. So anyways, back to Quantum Leap. So the main character,
Ben.
Yeah, he's there during the big earthquake. And he's there to help his person he's in, his estranged wife, and they got to find their kid before the kid dies, because he's gone back home to Oakland, and so they have to like go through a subway tunnel. His estranged wife is a doctor, and they save some people on Glaive that she gets hurt, and he uses like CPR to restart her heart. Anyways, meanwhile, back in the present, they have figured out the identity of the mystery leaper,
Leaper X,
who is a Marine stationed at Camp Pendleton, but he has no knowledge of the project, so that means he hasn't left yet. So, and I think that's why they also had him identified Ben as Ben of 2022. That way he'd know, so he could be like Richard of, 2028 or something like that. So anyway,
Martinez.
Yeah, his first name is Richard Martinez.
Oh, Richard Martinez. Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, I apologize. Yes.
So they also make the realization that Ben is trying to slingshot himself into the future. That's why he's going so far back into the past to kind of slingshot himself with enough momentum forward as he makes these skips forward. So eventually he's going to hit somewhere in the future. So I still say he's going after Sam.
At least that's their theory.
Yeah. So yeah. Did I like the episode? Not really. It was kind of lackluster. I mean, it's how to explain. I mean, an earthquake has just happened. People did not look panicked enough. Like, I don't think they got the point through to the extras to like be more panicked. So yeah, is that, and again, a lot of say not show was going on. So I know there's 2 episodes left in the season. This is a short season.
No, they got a full 18 episodes this season.
They did.
Remember, they got the 10. Yeah, there was supposed to be 8 episodes, and then NBC asked for the next 10 to be produced.
I thought that's season 2.
No, this is for season 1. They get a full 18 episodes this season. So
okay.
It was originally supposed to be 8, so they're going back into production now. So I think after the 8 episodes, there's going to be a break for like a month or so, and then they're going to air the final 10 episodes after we're done. They'll air like 4 and then take a break, and then another 4 to end off.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Yeah. So,
I think it's so 18 episodes total, I guess then.
Yeah. First season will be 18 episodes. Yeah.
But the thing is did they write the 8th episode as being the end of the season, or?
As far as I know, they had scripted the amount of episodes that they are now going to do. So basically, NBC was just going to air the first 8 to see how well it took off, because the ratings actually have been a lot more, I think, more phenomenal than they thought they were going to be. And again, it's network nowadays, which the numbers are not really that impressive, but they're impressed with the numbers that they're getting in the time slot that they've been given, and at the age group that they're hitting, which is, so it's hitting their targets right on the nose on every single thing. So NBC has decided to continue on with backing this version of Quantum Leap. So
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, interesting to see.
I myself am going to say that I'm now settling into the two stories of following Ben on his leap and then following what's happening at Quantum Leap headquarters. I understand when we were growing up, the one storyline was perfect for us to do because that's how the conscience of the world was. We could follow one storyline and be entertained for a whole entire hour while we follow this one guy doing all this thing as someone else. Nowadays, the audience, because it is a much younger audience that they're shooting to the same audience that was interested in Quantum Leap back in when it originally aired. So the attention span needs more of a storyline to be there. So that's why we're getting a dual storyline. That's why we're getting
Bigger
the, hey,
spoon.
why is, yeah,
Bigger
exactly.
spoon.
And again, I'm hating the fact that we have to do this. I'd love to have, hey, let's just follow Ben and have like little rumblings of what's going on in the back. But again, it's the way they make television now. It's the audience that they're shooting towards. So I'm adapting to that. I'm not really enjoying it as much, but because I'm starting to like Ben a lot more. I am liking I wish I could come up with his name off the top of my head right now, but I'm enjoying this actor. Addison is I'm starting to like the other crew too. I mean, Ernie Hudson, can't go wrong with Ernie Hudson.
Mhm.
Love almost anything that Ernie Hudson is involved with. And Ernie Hudson is playing Ernie Hudson, which is fantastic. So that's good and all that. I like the sci-fi aspect to it. I do like that. Well, first of all, this had Jewel State in it as the soon-to-be ex-wife, maybe not ex-wife, from Firefly and all that. So it's really nice to see a Canadian pop up in any sort of regular television. But this was actually the first episode that was not shot on a soundstage. They actually went to a location. Now, like you said, Trevor, how people didn't look very surprised and all that, this episode was still shot under COVID quarantine, so you couldn't have a lot of people.
I wasn't worried about the number of people. It was just they didn't seem to be in distress, acting
Well, no,
that
I
much
also-
in distress.
I don't think they could lend enough time to that part of the story to show that this whole entire city is dealing with. And yes, it did look like a very light version of the earthquake, which definitely should have decimated a lot more. Yeah,
It's an
no,
earthquake.
exactly. Yeah. And I'll agree with you there. It didn't have the impact that it should have had, but I'm going to forgive a lot more because I am starting to enjoy the series, obviously a lot more than you. But I'm understanding why they're doing it the way they are, because again, it's the audience they're shooting for nowadays. It's not us. It's not our prequels. It's they're shooting towards the 6-year-olds in '99 that are going to be seeing this movie for the first time. That's their Quantum Leap. This is their Quantum Leap, and so hopefully, if there's
Actually, I
enough...
disagree. Even though I haven't seen the show, I
Okay.
don't think you need to do that kind of stuff to appeal to a new audience. I think a good story is timeless, no matter what it is.
No, I agree with you there, Mike. If we can get the one storyline to be perfectly fine, yes. But I think the network is shooting for the multiple storylines because of the way that like any sort of regular TV series, like your Law and Orders has one single storyline throughout each episode. It's only out of all the Law and Orders, only Law and Order has the two sides. It has the law, the order. Everything else has the one side. Law and Order SVU is just those guys. Law and Order like International or whatever it's called or anything. All that is all just one continuous storyline.
God,
But
I love the original Law and Order.
Oh no, the original Law.
That
I
show is
love
so
the fact
good.
that they brought it back. I love the fact that they brought back Law and Order. You've been watching the new Law and Order that they
I
brought back?
haven't. No.
It is really fun to watch. It is really good. Sam Waterston is back. Sam Bushy-eyed Waterston is back, but he's the lead like DA guy, so it's really great. And the guy that played the hero in the Hannibal TV series is the DA that does all the lawyering in the law part of Law and Order. So it's really, really well done. And the 3 shows air on the same night. Law and Order, Criminal Intent. No, sorry, not Criminal Intent. Anyways, whatever. But that being said, back to Quantum Leap is the audience for Law and Order is like audiences in their 50s and up, because they can follow the one storyline. So that's why there isn't multiple storylines in it. You go to any other story, any other newer programming, you're going to have multiple characters doing multiple storylines and all that. Like police procedurals, you'll usually follow like 3 or 4 storylines with characters and whatnot. So I think they're just trying it with the Quantum Leap. I would love to see us just focus on the one storyline each time, pull those stories out, because that was one of the greatest things about the original Quantum Leap is Scott Bakula is a fantastic actor, and they used that to the advantage of the storytelling of the original series. Scott Bakula could carry an hour-long show playing a different character each time because he could do that. We're experiencing Ben not having that ability because he wasn't trained to do that. Addison was the one that was supposed to be doing the time traveling. She would probably be able to adapt better to different timelines. So Ben's just muddling his way through this. I do like that. I went back and rewatched the Wild West one again, and how he was saying how it is actually him. It had nothing to do with the fighter, because they're now making the episodes connected. There's like, the one thing about the original series is that you can watch any episode back and forth. When we were kids and, during the summertime, they would have reruns where, especially on a Quantum Leap, he would leap out of one body and then you knew which was the episode he leapt into, but they put on a different episode anyway. So he leapt back into it. So it didn't really matter. So you can show them out of order and all that. But this one is being produced and distributed in a chronological order, which makes sense. You want to follow it and find out how Sam gets his memories back slowly but surely or whatnot. But Ben doing it he's a fish out of water. And the fact that he has no memories and he's gaining them back and he doesn't know what he's supposed to be doing. He doesn't have the physical training. He doesn't have the mental training. He just again, it seemed like a whim that he decided to do this leap. But anyways, I'm enjoying the series. I'm going to continue to watch it. If it tanks at the end, although, oh well, it was a nice attempt. We didn't get to see Scott Bakula, so I'm glad because the show turned out to be a back the wrong pony sort of thing. But I'm going to still be watching it because, again, I've still got my old Quantum Leap that I can watch anytime. So, and that's all I got to say about Quantum Leap. Hey, Mike, what have you been watching recently?
Take a wild guess. I have
wait a
binging...
sec. How do you let me write this out in the notebook. Okay, go ahead.
You got it?
Yep, I got it.
Good. The Expanse.
Oh
shoot. No, that's not what I wrote.
Oh. Porky's Revenge. No.
What was that other one you guys came up with? Anyways. Yes, yeah. The Expanse.
I'm just binging it. So I think last we met I was in season 3.
You just started season
midway.
3,
yeah.
And season 3 was an interesting one. And again, Gavin, maybe you know about this because you've read the books, but it seemed like it was 2 stories because it took a hard turn midway through and there was a bit of a time skip and everything shifted. But I think like the story was strong. I thought it was done well. Like, do you know about that, Gavin? Season 3?
Remind me where it is, because the books and the shows don't line up exactly.
Yeah, and that's what it seemed like. So where were we at? There's the whole thing with like Gunny making her big appearance and Christian being rescued and all that kind of stuff. And then the second half of the season, there's
dealing
like
with the ring.
Yeah, where it was just like a whole shift of story. Yeah, and that's when Miller comes back, called it. Although he didn't come back in the way that I thought he would. I was expecting, what's her name? Julie, when she was that kind of crystalline entity kind of creature. I thought the two of them would be like crystalline entities like that. I was not expecting him to come back as a, hey, kid, I'm just pushing your buttons. It's all buttons and switches. Just
doors and corners.
Yeah. But all that stuff was really fun. So I thought all of season 3 was really strong. Season 4 was different. Everybody said that that story took a drop compared to the others.
That's when Netflix took over.
Amazon.
Yeah, this was when it went to Amazon. Yeah, that was the
Yeah.
Amazon news story. Yeah.
Yeah. And apparently the books were the same. It was kind of like a lower point in the books. I didn't mind the story, honestly. I didn't find it as engaging as the first 3 seasons, but it was kind of neat to have a frontier Western kind of story. And Amos, like, man, did he ever level up? Like, again, you ask who my favorite character is. He keeps getting points, like ting, ting, ting. Like the amount of
He is the guy.
one-liners. Yeah. And okay, I'm gonna ask you this and try and answer it without spoiling the end if you can. But so Trevor, who's your favorite character in the Expanse?
I can't say.
You're not allowed to say.
Not
No
allowed to say.
spoilers. Spoilers.
I'm not gonna say.
Damn it. We'll just go from there. In season 4, I didn't really like the whole Gunny storyline. It's sort of like what you guys were saying with Quantum Leap, how you got multiple stories happening at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to see her re-engage in that season. I thought it was kind of funny how, she took the job off or after Christian lost the election. Like, yeah, your timing fucking sucks, or whatever she said. So anyway, season 4 was interesting. Curious to see where season 5's going. What's his name? The ex-husband of Naomi and her son are wrecking havoc. So that's where I'm at now. But still enjoying the series and still binging it. That's why I don't have time for all these other shows you guys are watching.
Just gotta make time. Time.
Marcos is a bastard, an absolute bastard in the book. Possibly one of the characters I like through the entire book. He's like that the rascally rabbit that gets away every time. Just kill the damn rabbit.
Kill the
Did you kick it?
rabbit. Kill the rabbit.
Yeah, you'll see why he's.
Oh, I believe it.
Yeah.
Well,
it's difficult to hear you talk about this, and I'm like, I know how this goes. So yeah.
And again, like Barbarian, we don't want to spoil anything because it is definitely it's definitely worth the ride. Let's just put it there. It's definitely worth getting through it on your own. Yeah.
As I said,
don't want to know too much.
The Expanse is a series I wish I could wipe my memory of it so I could watch it again with fresh eyes, because it was just such a fun watch. It'd be great to be able to just binge it and not know what's coming up next. And
it is great. Yeah. And the thing that really sucks is because every now and then I want to find out some more details because that's the kind of brain I have. It's like, I want to look up this. It's like, no, I can't look up anything. It's like, what's the ship's name? I can't look it up.
No, don't look it up until the
spoilers.
end.
Don't look at anything. Yeah. And I've said this before in the other podcasts, but it has all the science fiction tropes. Like, everything should be pretty predictable, but the story's not. And I think that's beautiful. Like, all the characters are legit archetypes, but you don't know what they're going to do next. You don't know where the storyline's going to go. And that's amazing. But
yeah, that is one of the fascinating things about the whole entire thing. Yeah.
And then all the different Amos quotes that have come up lately, like where he's with the doctor and the doctor or the minister is saying, it's like, well, I'm here because I have to do what I have to do. It's like, yeah, me too. And just the connotations of what that means. Season 4, where he gets his girlfriend and it's like, I'll never lie to you. Right. And then once she picks the wrong side, it's like, I told you I'd never lie to you, right? Well, I'm going to go through you if I have to. And he does.
Man of his word.
So many good one-liners from him. It's so good. Like, he's becoming like my spirit animal. It's great. He's like the Frank Castle in space. I saw people online comparing him as like the Expanse Chewbacca, and I think that's a really good comparison.
Well, there's a great line in the books early on where Naomi is asking. I think it was Naomi asking Amos. It's like, well, how do you govern yourself? What guides you in determining what's right and wrong? And he stops and he thinks, and basically he goes, I think what Jim Holden would do, and then I do that because that's usually the right thing.
Yeah. It's been interesting how he gets all his best friends, like the botanist, where he's my best friend. I'm going to make sure he's okay. With the minister, say I'm not going to let anybody hurt you. And you can tell that he means it. It's so good. Such a great character.
There's one of the things that I like the most about The Expanse is like shows like Star Trek and Star Wars and stuff like that. There's warp drives and this, that, and the other thing, and it's like, okay, well that's science fiction. That's clearly science fiction, and I can get behind that. They don't explain how warp drive works. This is just it. The Expanse, the technology that they use, like it feels feasible within our lifetime. That's what I like the most about it. The Epstein drive, sure, like maybe that's a couple of centuries away kind of thing, but just the physics they use, like ships are rocketing to off somewhere, then they spin the ship around 180 to start braking. Like the G forces, they have to actually have like the juice pumped into them to keep them conscious while they're like doing 670 Gs. Like it just feels like this is the technology, that the physics are real. This is something that's believable. Like in Star Trek, like the Enterprise skids to a halt. Nobody goes splatting into the screen because
Fridge is full of raspberry jam.
Inertial dampeners. The catch-all technology red herring they use to basically explain the physics away.
Unlike the sphere inside the ring, it's like everybody stop.
Oh yes.
It's on the windshield, man.
Okay, Troy, are you there as well? Have you? Okay, so you've made it to the ring, like where they've gone.
Yeah, no.
Ring?
I've watched. I'm. Yeah.
Okay, so the that spacer guy basically just rocketing past. He's like jamming into high gear, and then splash. Oh my!
Yeah. I got the jam.
Like I when I read that in the book, it's just like, oh, that sounds that, because they didn't go into a lot of detail. It was just like, oh yeah, they would be scraping them off inside, but they showed it in beautiful, glorious Technicolor of what would happen, and like the whole thing with the ships all entering the ring at like either fast speeds or whatever speeds they were going at, like just suddenly stopping in like with the rings inertial dampener, and the book that there's so many more casualties, and of course it's all thanks to Jim Holden. The greatest do-gooder to ever stick his dick into anything. Let's see, what wasp nest is he going to stick his dick into today? Oh dear, that's not good.
Yeah, I remember when the splat happened in The Expanse. I just remember like, oh, yeah, that's just not. I mean, like the head kind of disappears and there's all that trailing viscera, and you're just like, oh, he's not getting away from that one. That's a jumbo Band-Aid situation.
And that was great storytelling the way they did it, because they made that Belter guy so likable with the rock and roll music playing, and he seemed like a Phantom Menace pod racer.
Yeah, he not as much pod racing after that.
No.
Now something else I have watched recently is a movie. It's on Amazon Prime. It's from Norway. It's called Mortal. I think in Norwegian it's Torden or something like that. Anyway, it takes place. There's this young gentleman named Eric who awakens from a nightmare, and all the trees outside of his tent have been burned to cinders. And he has like terrible burns on his legs. So he heads into the town for, to get some bandages for his legs. And he's just a very unique guy. And at one point, a bunch of teens stop and start harassing him. And one of the boys goes to push him, and he just says, "If you touch me, you're going to burn." And it's such a weird thing to say to somebody. So the guy, of course, you challenge me. So he grabs him by the collar and then just dies instantly, like just hits the ground and he's dead. And it's a great start to a movie, by the way. And so, the local police pick this kid up and ask a young psychologist to talk to him. He's American Norwegian. And he's suspect in a fire that happened a while back, and the U.S. Embassy shows up to take him to America, but he refuses to speak to them. And there's this nice sequence where the sheriff is telling people about Ragnarok and Thor's children, and stuff like that. And this movie is very heavy in Norse mythology. And it's just the end sequence where he goes into the barn, and he finds a box of stone, and he opens it up, and inside are the iron gloves of Thor, his belt of strength, and Mjolnir. And you realize he's one of Thor's children. And what's happened is every time he gets emotional, electrical devices around him start failing. And the psychologist basically realizes that his emotions, cause these things. So they got to try to calm him down, help him control these abilities. But when he gets these 3 items, it kind of unlocks it's almost like putting the key in the lock and turning it and opening up that magical box of treasure. Because he goes walking outside, and the psychologist Christine approaches him. And at this point, the U.S. have, they got some soldiers there surrounding them, and they order, this guy Hathaway orders them to open fire, and a sniper goes to shoot him, and he misses Eric, but he hits Christine really well, like good, beautiful headshot. And it turns out that Eric is not as well control of his emotions when the woman who was helping him learn to control his emotion dies right in front of him. Who knew? So there's like a giant lightning storm, lots of casualties, and the film ends with a newscast stating that a new cult has arisen, the cult of Thor, and that this guy Eric is now at large and wanted as a terrorist. And I have to say, this is a movie that could not have been made in the U.S. Because they would have fucked it up. Like, without an absolute doubt, if Hollywood had got their claws into this script, they would have fucked it up beyond belief. They probably would have cast some A-lister like Leonardo DiCaprio or something. This cast works so well because for the most part, it's a lot of unknowns. And they let the movie unfold at a reasonable pace. It doesn't feel rushed. You don't feel out of the loop. I've watched it dubbed, and eventually I just turned off the dub and put on the subtitles. And because the original actors, their voices work. This movie is so much fun to watch. So if you get the opportunity on Amazon Prime to watch this film, I heartily recommend it. I hope to God they do a sequel, because this movie deserves a sequel. It is so much fun to watch.
I'm just watching the trailer, and wow, by the director of Troll Hunter too.
Exactly, which is how I got to it, like, because I was just like, oh, well, what's this? Because someone had said, have you seen this movie? And I was like, oh, what's this? And so I watched the trailer and I was like, no, but I need to watch this. I really do need to watch this film. So I was searching online, like, what streaming services hold this. Then eventually it was like, oh, it's now on Amazon Prime. If you're a subscriber of Amazon Prime, go watch it. And I was like, thank you, I will. And yeah, it's, again, this is a movie that could not have been made in the US. It just wouldn't have worked. They wouldn't have treated it the same way, and they would have either gone way over the top or really badly the other way. So
Too far off the mark, you're saying.
Yeah.
Now, correct me. I'm sorry, but is this isn't in English, correct?
you can watch it in English,
Okay.
but you can there's a dubbed version, but
Okay.
you can watch the original with the subtitles and
Yeah. Okay. All right.
yeah.
I mean, it is originally done in its native language.
Yes.
Okay. Cool. All right.
Now it's funny because at some point they do use English.
Oh, I see.
But it it was such a great movie to watch. It really was. It was so much fun. So yeah, if you get the chance to watch it, I recommend this movie. I can't give it enough recommendations. Because I think on Amazon it's initially it was only in English. But then like out of the blue it came in, like it was available as the dubbed. So yeah. So yeah, please watch it.
And how long is it?
Just over an hour, I think, not quite 2 hours, like an hour 45.
Okay. So it's a half decent length, then, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's such a fun movie. So if you get the chance to watch it, please do.
All right. And that was
Trailer's
Mortal.
definitely selling.
Mortal.
Trailer's definitely selling me on it.
Yeah, it's
looking good.
Yeah. And it was funny. I watched this movie and then I was thinking again back onto Black Adam. And I'm still thinking of like, what kind of balls does Waller need that she's operating well outside of the US and trying to dictate terms to a non-US citizen about where he can and cannot go and how she has the right to just imprison him for reasons. It's just like, yeah, I just don't see that happening. I really don't. Like, Waller showing up in Japan and telling some samurai hero, oh, well, yeah, you're just too powerful, so we're going to imprison you. I don't think so, lady. I think you need to go back and hide in the US, or otherwise I'll come find you. Like, yeah, I feel in the movie Black Adam, she was really overstepping for no conceivable reason. So, yeah. And then I watched this movie, and then it's the US, like, oh, well, we'll just take him out. Oh, really? Did you even contact the local government and see what they say? Oh, okay, yeah. You'll just you'll check with them after the fact. Oh, look, giant electrical storm. Oops.
Hey, I've got something for a show and tell.
So we got a show and tell. Well, it's a good thing this is a visual medium.
Yeah, so we can discuss the visuals for the audio listeners. But as many people may have known, I have not had a cell phone my entire life. I had to get one for work. And so I got myself a flip. And if I had to get a flip, I decided I would get the full-on interface.
Nice.
So it's the full-on Star Trek Next Generation tricorder interface. Has all the little bells and whistles. All like you can.
And all the buttons work.
All the buttons work. You
That's
can map them to all your different apps. I showed this to my daughter, my oldest daughter, Annika, and because everybody mocks me because I've never used a cell phone. So anytime I have to use one, I don't know what to do. So it's Annika, check this out. It's like, oh, Dad, that's so awesome. Next time someone laughs at you for not knowing how to use the cell phone, you can hand them this and say, yeah, deal with this.
I know how to use a tricorder at least.
Yeah. So anyways, that's my new toy. And I'm having so much fun with this.
Now,
welcome to the
some of
future,
the,
Michael.
some of the older flip phones would have, if you open it up, you could actually have them make noises when you flip them open.
Yeah.
Can you customize the sound on that?
All the sounds are customized. So it's all the tricorder sounds.
So when it opens, it makes the opening sound and everything?
And all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Nice.
I set up the alarm for the red alert.
Nice.
You may want to change that after you panic a few times.
Like
having the Metal Gear Solid alert sound. Oh Jesus! What the hell was that?
It's like, should we go to red alert? Sir, you do realize that involves us changing the bulbs. little
Much
rich.
That's
too high,
cool, that's
too
cool.
too low for that.
Yeah.
And which one? What was that? What was the phone again, Mike?
It was a
Flip
Samsung
4?
Flip.
The phone was Samsung Flip 4.
Is that okay?
And-
Okay.
Oh, what was the name? The interface app is Trek Total Interface.
Nice.
That's really cool. That's really cool. Now, how is it like how is the screen on the bending part? Is it like it's kind of
There's a slight
an
bump on it.
interesting-
It's like a slight. No, it's like if you took a piece of paper and folded it. There's a slight,
Yeah, so there is a little bit of a
slight
okay.
something, but it's like, when I
First
saw the
generation
tech,
flips,
I thought it
were
would just
pretty
break.
bad.
What's that?
But the first generation flips were pretty bad. You could,
Yeah.
the crease would start like becoming more and more obvious. But they've improved the tech like to a very high degree now with the up to the Flip 4. I'm currently on the Ultra Galaxy S22 Ultra, which is basically the Note. So I was debating on the Fold 4, the one that kind of opens up like
Oh,
you
yeah.
can't actually even see that.
That demo was invisible.
It does that.
The audio listeners love that.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, the green screen's not doing me any favors in this one. Yeah,
No,
the,
it's not.
for those just listening in, we have a floating headed Gavin's little computer video game room, and all of a sudden a phone just started floating around his head. So do yourself a favor, go to YouTube, fast forward to this point of the podcast, and you'll see what we're talking about. There you go. Spooky.
So I watched a couple of things this week.
Oh.
So Chainsaw Man episode 4, absolutely fucking insanity. That's all I can say. I'll figure out a way of getting you guys a way of seeing it, but you gotta watch it. I also watched the final episode of season 3 of Lower Decks. Like holy shit, it was like a mini movie. I keep talking about it. I keep saying you gotta watch it, but holy shit!
I'm sorry. Just back up there for a second. Did you say the season finale of Lower Decks?
Yeah, season finale of season 3.
Did they? Oh, okay. Because I thought season 3 was supposed to have the cross. Did they have a crossover episode?
No, I thought there was going to be a crossover with Strange New Worlds, but it turns out that the crossover is actually in Strange New Worlds.
In Strange New Worlds, so the cast
Decks.
of Lower Decks. But I thought they were talking about an animated version of the characters from Strange New Worlds as well. So that's
what I thought as well.
Okay, because that's what I was under the impression that they were going to do both. They were going to do a crossover onto both.
I'm not again since like none of you like Trey. Have you watched any of Lower Decks?
Yep. Yeah, I have. Yeah.
I
haven't seen any of third season. I haven't done any of third season because I accidentally forgot to have my PVR record it because I was just So
you remember the end of season 1, right? With you know they you know who comes to the rescue?
Yep.
In that big battle, and I was almost dancing out of my
it was
Season 2, the ending wasn't too bad. Not as like emotional response as season 1 was, but season 3, holy fuck, that ending.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Okay.
I was like, I actually let out an audible yell, like a whoop in victory. Yeah, thank you, Arsenio. Appreciate it. But
again, the nice thing is it's half-hour episodes, like less than, because take out your commercials, because it was originally commercialized. No,
I think it was supposed to be going to the network, but
yeah, exactly.
They changed your mind.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is. So the procedure is like you're watching 25-minute episodes, and the animation is great. It's simplistic, but it feels like Gavin has said all along. It feels Star Trek. It's Star Trek. It is. And the inside jokes are fantastic. Apparently, there's a Quarks in almost every station now. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Cisco's is a high class booze joint.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, so I
there's
mean,
just so many little jokes.
and it is definitely written by fans of the original series, because you can't have those jokes in there for someone that hasn't been watching Star Trek Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager for your whole entire life. So
It's
yeah.
amazing. It's just it is one of the finest Star Trek shows I've ever seen. Which, speaking of, have you had a chance to see Star Trek Prodigy?
No, I have not. No, I've heard good
One
things
of
about it, but
one of my friends, one of my coworkers, he goes, "Oh, have you seen Prodigy? Prodigy, what's that? Star Trek Prodigy. It's on Netflix." No, it looks like a goofy kids show, dude. It's like some of the best Star Trek I've ever seen. I'm like, bullshit. No, it can't. It can't be that good.
It was that going to be on Paramount, damn it.
I had so grudgingly, I sat down and I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. What is this? What is this shit? So start watching it. At the end of the first episode, I was angry. I was very angry. A show made by Paramount and Nickelodeon being shown on Netflix should not be this good for a Star Trek show aimed for kids. It
Yeah,
should
and
not be
that's the
this
thing.
good.
That is the other thing too. It is aimed towards a youth audience, and yeah, it's kind of neat. It's like and you also get Kate Mulgrew coming back to reprise the voice of a hologram version of Catherine Janeway.
Yep. You
Yeah.
also have John Noble as voicing one of the bad guys. The rest of the cast, shit, I had that just up
Doing
here.
I can only say one other name because it's Jason Mantzoukas, and he always promotes it on How Did This Get Made, that he's part of the cast. So
Yeah, but it is worth your time. At least watch the first episode, get a feel for it. It's a little, because it is aimed at kids. You know, it's a little bit tropey with certain types of episodes that they come across. But the Star Trek aspect feels very solid in it, including some of that wonder that you have with when you're finding out like new information that you didn't know about Star Trek, but it totally makes sense in this world.
that's
And
cool. Yeah, I mean, because there's not enough for us to watch. So yeah, I'll start watching
exactly.
another Star Trek
Just-
show.
Throw another
Season
log
two
on the fire.
Season 2 has just hit Netflix, so fuck. And so the last thing I've been watching, a friend of mine managed to acquire the 2012 remake of essentially Star Blazers 2199. So it takes in all honesty, it's practically a beat for beat remake of the original series from the late 60s, early 70s, but with a modern style like animation budget, high quality CG for the ships, and they kept the theme song intact.
Oh, they did? Oh my God, that's so amazing.
Now it's in Japanese.
No, the
But-
original Japanese. Yes, no, it's not going to be the American. Oh, Star Blazers. No, it's not going to be that version. No, I didn't think so.
So the it's not until it follows some of that typical anime stuff where they don't give you the proper intro for at least like the first one or two, even three episodes. So on the third episode, they do the full intro, and I'm like, just slapped across the head with the nostalgia stick, just like multiple times with that theme song, and I'm like, holy shit! This is the show that my rose tinted glasses thought of every time I thought back to Star Blazers from the early 70s. That 70s style anime look, the weird kind of like acetate like photocopied on acetate kind of look of the animation cells.
Yeah.
This is basically what I think it was when thinking back to my childhood. It is that good. The production quality is great. The wave motion cannon, like just holy shit. This is my childhood.
I think he likes it.
Oh yeah, I do like it.
Mikey, he likes it.
He's giving it more than 2 thumbs up, that's for sure.
He really likes it.
I know he had that many thumbs.
At least 3.
Yeah, Yeah.
Okay, well, that's good to know. All right.
So I'm gonna.
You're welcome. That's my attempt at classing up to join.
All right. So in a little bit of other news, for anyone who's been paying attention, DC decided to name some new department heads. James Gunn and Peter Safran just took over all of DC's film, TV, and animation division. So they're going to be answering directly to David. Was it Zaslav? Is his name?
Yeah.
So Hamada
For now, at least.
Yeah. So they have, according to the article, they don't start until next month, but they are going to have full control over film, TV, and animation, which I think is a good sign. Now, the downside is they're going to have to be dealing with the aftermath of the mess that's been left behind and try to like salvage some pieces. Now, what's nice is James Gunn was asked in an interview like, how is this going to relate to his role as a director for Marvel, and he's like, that's fine. It's two separate cinematic universes. They don't have to snipe at each other or anything like that, which is nice. If I had to pick someone to take over DC's films to try to kind of restart it and get it going, he would have probably been near the top of the list.
Well, he can definitely take a bunch of random stuff and make it work. That's for sure.
Yeah.
We know that DC is going to have some awesome soundtracks coming up in their future projects. That's cool. There's going to be a bunch of deadbeat dads, who are torturing their sons. I'm sure that's going to happen.
Oh, yeah. Now, so I was reading this other article where we're talking about, how is he going to handle the aftermath of Black Adam? Because now we've got Henry Cavill has just announced he will not be returning for season 4 of The Witcher. He has other projects working on. He's also announced he is interested in coming back to the DC universe as Superman for another film. Now Zack Snyder's gotten all, an itch in his pants because now he wants to work with Cavill again to do Man of Steel 2. Please, oh fuck, please, no. Snyder does not need to do yet another DC film.
Yeah, he had his shot.
In my opinion, he's 0 for 3. Don't give him. Let's not make it a quartet of crap. So there's been some interesting things, but one of the things that came up was, I guess Dwayne Johnson has a holdover from his contract from his Fast and Furious days that on screen he never loses a fight. So that's why he handled the JSA pretty much easily, like so easily. He never broke a sweat, and he even handled his, opponent with the same skill set with really not a whole lot of, issue. But if he's going to face Superman, he's going to have to get his ass kicked. And the thing is that I'm thinking Dwayne Johnson, as a former wrestler in the WWE, knows the value of having a character lose so that when they make their comeback, it's even bigger. So yeah, hopefully as taking over, Gunn can kind of get that through to him and say, Black Adam's going to have to lose a couple of fights to make it realistic. So yeah.
And that was good. That was good, putting the analogy of his wrestling career, because he knows how to play the audience. He knows
how to play both a baby face and a heel.
Exactly.
And you've got to lose to make that bigger jump forward. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that was some of the friction between him and Vin Diesel during Fast and Furious. Is Vin Diesel has the same clause in his contract that he never loses a physical fight. So
yeah.
So when you get the two of them fighting each other on screen, which happened, both of them have the clause in their contract they cannot lose a physical fight. Well, then it's going to be a stalemate of some sort, and it was.
And they have to. And a part of Vin Diesel's was they can't one up in punches, so they had to throw the same amount of punches. They had to land the same amount of punches. Again, ridiculous sort of ego trip thing, and even though he asked The Rock to come back for Fast 10 and 11, he's like, no, it's okay. You guys go on and do your little movie.
Do your little car stuff.
That's the thing that sucks when these kind of contracts trump story. Because it should be about the story. It's not about the actor's ego.
Tom Cruise, who has a team of goddamn writers to rewrite film so he has more screen time, more lines, and is the focus at all times. He killed the Dark Universe. We could have had good modern monster movies, but his fucking ego couldn't be held in check. I've talked about this at length before, but yeah, so I agree. There's certain contracts, if the story is suffering because of some guy's ego, no, just fire his ass, find someone else to take the role, honestly. Because now what's funny is Will Smith was supposed to be Neo for The Matrix, but he turned down the role when the Wachowski said, we're not changing the script. The script we give you is the script you have. There's no rewrites, there's no changes. And years later, he said, looking back, he would have ruined that movie. It wouldn't have been a good a movie as it was if he'd been in that role. To me, that's a little bit of letting go of your ego, which is something I doubt that someone like Tom Cruise or a variety of other A-list actors would do. It's they'd look at the script and go, no, I demand, and a lot of them have like Ed Norton in his contracts. Not only can he rewrite the script, he can re-edit the film. Actors shouldn't have that power in a film. Like, I don't care who you are. Unless you're financing the whole goddamn thing yourself, you shouldn't have that much power in a film you're in. So, yeah, so, written by Tom Cruise, story by Tom Cruise, acted by Tom Cruise, directed by Tom Cruise, financed by Tom Cruise. Then he can have whatever he wants. But
yeah, have the ego show. It's all you, buddy.
Yeah. So, yeah. So I in terms of news, when it was announced that Gunn and Safran are taking over, it was like, oh, maybe the DC and DC non-animated universe won't suck so hard.
I'm going to be really curious because I kind of joked about it, but James Gunn has a very distinct style with all of his stuff, and it tends to trend good. So that's a good thing.
Well, I enjoyed his Suicide Squad. I enjoyed, pretty much everything he's done, both Marvel and DC. There haven't really been, that many failures, if any.
Yeah, I agree with that. But it is a very distinct style. And I'm curious. Like, I think he's smart enough to not impose his style into everything. He knows that DC is, even the comic books, it was always like Marvel was this interconnected universe, and DC was a lot more kind of Elseworld, kind of, it had its own little pockets of reality with all the stories. And I'm guessing he's probably smart enough to understand that, and kind of, because if you look at DC's biggest hits, they've been the weird kind of edge case films. It hasn't been the united DC universe. So it'll be interesting to see if they keep going that route or just what he infuses his own style into everything else.
I think it's going to be a case of he's going to hire the directors he knows are going to be able to tell a good story, as opposed to hiring the flavor of the month director and just throwing a character at him saying, go.
Lucasfilm.
Yeah. Now, something that has come out, I think it was a couple days ago, the upcoming sequel to Joker will not be part of the DC universe. He's not basically, he's kind of written Joker and the upcoming sequel as out of the fold. So, which is what it kind of was anyway.
Right.
So, yeah. It'll be interesting to see. Really interesting to see.
And the other thing is, though, with James Gunn, it's not that you are hiring a style, you're hiring a storyteller.
Yes.
And like we've seen from what he's put out there, like his Guardians of the Galaxy, his Suicide Squad, the Peacemaker as well. He is great. Even his other stuff, like his early movies, like Slither and Hero. Is it Hero? Is that the one that it is? I can't remember what his first like superhero movie with Rainn Wilson. I can't remember what's called and all that. But he is great at telling a story. So the two of them, what was the other guy's name again?
Safran, Pete Safran.
Yeah, Safran and him, I think, are a great choice because the two of them will be basically tag teaming this whole entire thing, and because they're both good storytellers, they're both good at weaving a tale, and I'm pretty sure with the two of them going at it, because Feige basically was from the get-go, he was building it from the get-go.
He was looking long term.
He was at the background at the very beginning, but he was still there. He was working his way up, and then Feige came in charge. So now you have these two gentlemen who are very strong storytellers, very well organized, and they have a great vision. I think the two of them are going to work really well to remold and shape what these different pieces of clay that they've been given from what DC has right now. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
we're not going to see anything that's directly with their hands on it until about 2024.
yeah, no,
So,
there's it's not. Yeah,
like Shazam's coming out.
Yeah,
they're probably not going to cancel it. But stuff like the new Cavill movie, Wonder Woman 3, or anything like that, anything that's coming out 2024 and after that will have their influence in it. So, which I think is a good sign.
And I remember hearing from the Russo brothers back during Infinity War about how James Gunn came in to kind of script doctor the Guardians. And he seems like he's really good at that job. Like, he gave him the Rubber Band Man song to play to get the Guardians vibe right. Star-Lord was supposed to give up when Thanos was going to kill Gamora. And James Gunn was like, no. Both him and Chris Pratt said, it's like, no, Star-Lord would do it. So it's like, really? Like, oh, so okay. So they wrote that into the script, and so Thanos had to turn it into a bubble gun, right? It shows that they understand the story and the characters. And so if he can bring that into all the future movies, that script doctoring, the kind of elevating the story based on what the characters' needs are, could be really interesting.
Yeah. Now for Safran on the other side, so he's currently the producer for Shazam, the new Aquaman, and the upcoming Blue Beetle movie. One he's not a producer on is the upcoming Flash film. Now that one's still up in the air what they're going to do with it, because that rabbit hole of Ezra Miller is just getting deeper and deeper. You know, it's just that shit's not going away, and it's just not getting any better.
Dude, scrap freaking the Flash and give us back our Batgirl.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they deleted it off their server so they can keep their tags.
I know.
Now, they did say it's noting that neither Safran nor Gunn are going to be in any way responsible for the Joker 2 or Matt Reeves' plan for the Batman sequel and the HBO spin-offs. So the only thing they've said is those will take place outside of the DCU continuity and be overseen by their filmmakers, but they're not going to be part of the DCU going forward. So, yeah. Now, the downside is by signing this contract, he can't do any more MCU projects.
Not even another holiday special?
He can't. Basically, holiday special and Galaxy 3 are the
Come
last.
on, we got Kevin Bacon, man.
Yeah, I know. Are the last projects he's going to be doing with Marvel Studios for the foreseeable future.
And I think that was the plan all along. He was basically whether or not he was going to do anything else, he was basically, okay, I'm gonna finish off with Guardians 3, and I think I'm going to be done with Marvel for a while, because when he left Marvel, went to DC, and then came back to Marvel, he really enjoyed doing the DC stuff that he did. So, I mean, he made a plan to do that. And if he's going to go someplace and pull off James Gunn magic like he does, I will follow whatever James Gunn is doing and all that.
Yeah.
And the fact that we saw the trailer for the holiday special.
Oh my God.
Week, which was
Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, I know. It's just like you can't help but smile while watching that trailer. If you have not seen it, do yourself a favor. Stop what you're doing right now. If you're on your YouTube, bring up the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, which is kind of cool because it's something that was shot during the filming of Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which is already wrapped filming and all that. So we have to just wait some time for everything to be processed. But it looks like and again, it starts off special presentation, just like Werewolf by Night. I'm like, oh my God, please bring us one of these each holiday season. Please bring a different. I want to see a Wakanda Easter story. I mean, I want to see. But I mean, I'm so thrilled, and I hope this is an ongoing thing. But this looks like such a great, fun little romp, and I hope that they leave it at like that, just under an hour mark, because it'd be perfect.
Now, what's nice is a lot of people are equating Gunn and Safran's collaboration similar to like Eisner and Katzenberg, or Katzenberg and Spielberg when they split off to do DreamWorks. that they're going to have fresh ideas. They're going to be willing to take some risks. So we might see characters like Booster Gold or Plastic Man. So it's not going to be the same hired group of people over and over and over again. We might get to see Zatanna.
Well, especially with James Gunn.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean he's
exactly.
like,
Yeah,
that's
that's a
his
good point.
thing.
Yeah.
he's great for pulling out characters that you may not have known about or just known about as an most obscure reference and pushing them to the front and giving us a movie that's worthwhile.
Oh yeah, he's proved that you can do it too. I mean, yeah.
Remember all those memes about the world's not ready for a Wonder Woman movie? And James Gunn's like, yeah, here's a raccoon and a talking tree.
Yeah, it works.
And this is like, maybe we should get that guy.
Yeah. So when I heard that news, I'm still excited by that news because it just looked like DC was just going into a tighter and tighter spiral to the basement and to the point where they would just cancel it entirely.
It's kind of interesting too, because now they have that Marvel insider knowledge about what works. Like they have a track record. They know the formulas, and then they can do their own spin on it. Just like he did with Peacemaker.
Yeah, they're not going to need to try to cram everything in a single movie and package it out. They can let's let it take 5-6 movies to develop this before we do a big ensemble cast. So,
you guys may have seen this somewhere, but there is with the old Warner Brothers guard and the DC movies, there was a kind of a mandate, basically, no jokes. We don't want to be Marvel, so no jokes. And so, of course, every single movie that they released without any humor was just horrible.
Yeah, it wasn't fun. Even the heroes didn't have any fun.
Now, Justice League was a terrible movie. But, like a train wreck, I couldn't stop watching because there was some fun moments in it.
Oh, Gavin.
There was fun in this movie.
Well,
like Batman joking or making it like a humorous comment. Like everyone had some sort of there was something to enjoy, somewhat to enjoy. It was a complete train wreck. Nothing was cohesive.
Now it's funny. So the Whedon version had those jokes. When Snyder did his 4-hour monstrosity and cut a lot of those jokes out, it went back to the humorless DC. And I mean, part of that movie's problem was scenes carried on and on. It's like, I know sometimes you want to let the scene breathe, but if it breathes too much, it dies. And that almost every scene did. That's why it was 4 fucking hours long. And all the humor was gone. It was a humorless, long mess. And you got all those little, Snyder Knights cheering, and it's just like, go away. Please go away. This is the big nail in his coffin. Let's have no more Snyder hero films. Ugh. I hate that movie so much. Yeah.
I didn't watch it.
It just, he put on the dark and gritty filter, and it was that 4-hour one was just so difficult to watch because scenes just kept going on, and you're like, all right, scene's done. We're here for another 4 minutes. Maybe time to go get some popcorn.
Yes, his definite 4-hour edit could have used editing, and again,
it could have been probably
trimming.
dropped back down to 2 hours and 15 minutes, editing out all the unnecessary length of scenes.
I mean, it was nice to see some of the stuff that was completely different from the original, which was nice. I mean,
that was fine. I like the redesign of Steppenwolf. That was fine.
Yeah,
but
that was
there were scenes that just went on and on and on. It's like, we got the point. This extra, minute and a half of footage on this scene is not advancing the story at all. It's just, you're like, ooh, look at this. It's nothing with that, is pertinent to the story, or it's just eye candy that is just taking time. And there was so much of that. And it was just like, oh God, make it stop. Make it stop.
Justice League, the oh God, it's still going cut.
Exactly. That's what it felt like. We're still on this scene, folks. It's been 15 minutes since we saw that happen. We're still here. We're just waiting for we're waiting for all the dust to settle. All of it. but there's still some dust over there. Just sit back, folks. We'll wait. That's what it felt like. But paint's just not quite dry yet, guys. Just wait. When the paint's dry, we'll move on to the next scene.
Breathe.
Yeah, you can just hear
Breathe.
someone in the background yelling, "Keep breathing, scene. Keep going. Keep going. You've got it."
Shit, do we have to put this scene on life support?
That's
All right, get the
honestly,
oxygen tank.
Keep it breathing, man.
Yeah, it was just like that. Honestly, that 4-hour cut could have been edited down so much, but nope, 4 hours. No,
Well, the audience demanded it, so the audience.
no, a small sliver of people demanded it, who then used bots to, bombard Twitter with more followers demanding it.
One last thought for tonight is something again from The Expanse, is when Amos is asked, "Aren't you scared to die?" And Amos says, "Everybody dies." I think those are words to live by.
No, it's not. I don't want to die. It's like, aren't you afraid to die? I'm not going to be the one dying. I prefer the quote from George Patton, or General Patton. It's not that you want to die for your country. You want to make the other guy die for his.
But Amos is right. In the end, we all die.
Says who? I'm shooting for the immortality thing. See, I'm waiting for, when they say, what kind of final words do you want people to say at your funeral? I want people to be like, hey, look, he's moving. People haven't given resurrection a try in a while, so why not?
Weekend at Bernie's.
Yes, exactly. The only other big thing I can think of is Facebook Meta just got slapped with 10 million in fines. But then they just released, what is it called? The Oculus Pro something or other. What's their new headset called? Gavin?
I don't know.
It's $1,400, something like that.
$1,500. $1,500 US for this thing.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. It's to replace the Quest 2, but it's supposed to be thinner, but the screens aren't that great in them. Like, there's a slight bump up in resolution, but not enough to get all like, woohoo, look at that.
Okay, but does it come with the Jackie-Matic 2000?
No, still sadly, no.
Okay, forget it.
Yeah. Pass on it. But yeah, $1,500 for this thing. No. It'll be a cold day in hell before I ever spend that much on a VR headset. Cold day, damn it. So, yeah. Anyone here have a headset? VR?
No.
Ooh.
Nope.
I look at it as
My nephew does.
I have 4 kids. I can't afford that right now. Yeah. I put that on. I'd flip up the little visor to see Meredith's fist coming right at my face. So, yeah, it's not worth that kind of injury. It's really not.
I mean, also, we all enjoy those Resident Evil games, but one of the joys of being able to play the video game is you can at least hit pause or look away from the screen. But can you imagine you've got your Oculus Rift or your VR headset and you're playing Resident Evil first person? You walk around the corner and all of a sudden like a chainsaw wielding psychopath comes at you. You turn away screaming, and there's another one right behind you.
Yeah,
you can't look away.
Yeah, I don't want that. I really don't. Is it the Quest Pro? I think is what it's called. Yeah, they're saying they're making it so for people to collaborate and create and yada yada. $1,500 US, and then you have to buy the accessories for it. For $1,500, it should have everything you should ever want, including like a lifetime supply of like adult Depends or something. Yeah,
or when you're playing the Dead Space remake in VR.
No, just anything. If I'm spending $1,500 on the headset, I'm wearing it for the rest of my life. Like, I'm just like, this is how you'll see me from now on. I'll flip up the lens every once in a while to check out the real. Oh no, I think it has pass-through lenses. But yeah, no, it's not $1,500.
And you still have to have a hell of a powerful computer to run it too.
No, it can run standalone.
Okay.
Because it has like memory storage on board, but things like a protective cover or light blockers, hell, even the wrist straps, so that you don't like fling a handset somewhere. That's all extra you have to pay for. For $1,500, all that shit should be included. So
Have you guys tried Beat Saber by chance?
no.
It's basically a rhythmic game for VR.
Yeah, I've seen people are waving their arms with the lightsabers hitting shit.
Yeah, it's basically you're using lightsabers. You're like smack things right to left, up, down. And it has a motion tracker for the headset, so you can your avatar moves in the appropriate direction as well. But holy shit, do you get fucking sweaty? I'm sorry. Like if I'm playing like Beat Saber and I'm playing it on hard mode, and one of my buddies says, "Hey, can I give that a try?" Okay, you might want to ring it out. Like the one of the things that when I was working for the Microsoft store, they had these. They were effectively the equivalent of those toilet seat covers, but for VR goggles. So you slapped it on your face, you put the goggles over top, and that's supposed to absorb the sweat. I'm sorry, but some of these people playing
so gross.
Nope. And I mean, what we were supposed to do after, like, someone had a particularly hefty workout, was we were supposed to like wipe it off with like alcohol wipes. That's foam. That's foam.
Yeah, alcohol wipes.
It absorbs water. It's like a sponge. It's like, okay, we're not getting anything out of that unless we rig it out, throw it through the washing machine, and then try it on like super hot. I'm sorry, I'm not touching that after someone else has been like playing Beat Saber.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So for example, I'm just looking up here. So if you get let's say you've just dropped $1,500 US on this headset. Now you want to block out the light that's coming in between your head, because they also have it pushes away a little bit further from your face, so you can wear glasses, and even big glasses, without it touching the screens. So that's another $50. And then if you want headphones, so that you can block out all the sounds around you, just listen to whatever you're listening to, it's another $50. And if you need to charge it, it's another $80. And if you want a carrying case for when you're running around with this thing, and you're like, oh well, I'm going to need a good carrying case for this, that's another $120 out of your account. Now they're like, oh, but it's backwards compatible, but there's some other stuff, and then you have to get like connecting cords and then the wrist straps. By the time you're done, if you want the full rig, you're looking at about $2,200 US.
Ooh.
That's I can get a better computer for $2,200 US. I don't need it connected to my face. And I can do more with a $2,200 computer than I can with a $2,200 pair of fancy glasses. Yeah. So, yeah. Considering if you then say, I'll tell you what, I'm going to get the one stage down, $400. With all the fun peripherals and shit like that, you're probably looking closer $600 by the time it's all said and done. But still.
That's a huge step down, though. That is but
the thing is, the processor in it is not that much better. The memory, not that much better. The resolution of the screens, not that much better. Like, this is the thing. A lot of people what they can't figure out, why is it such a huge price jump without having a big jump in the technology as well. So,
well, Samsung was for a while when Microsoft was really pushing their mixed reality technology, and you had multiple manufacturers. You had HP, you had Dell, you had Samsung, you had HTC, like doing all their versions of these headsets. And the only one that actually seemed to be like an improvement over some of the other ones was the Samsung, because they used OLED screens rather than traditional LED or LCD screens.
Yeah.
So the resolution was a lot higher. I actually I tried out the Samsung a few times. I was able to use it without glasses because I'm nearsighted, so focusing on the screen itself was not a problem. But the resolution jump between like going for, like, say, the cheap HP at $299 versus the Samsung version, which was like $449, it was a night and day difference. But
Yeah,
this
so-
Oculus Pro doesn't sound like it's that much better.
So the
than-
Oculus Pro, they're saying that what they call the optical stack, which is how much weight is hanging off the front of your face, is 40% slimmer. They put the battery pack at the back of your head to kind of balance it out, so you're not having all this weight on the front of your head, and it actually sits on your forehead and not on your nose and cheeks. But they're still using LCD screens. Everyone thought with the Pro they would go to LED because you could get a higher resolution. You could get 4K screens. But nope. Again, $1,500. I say, fuck you, Meta. Eat that fine.
All right, and that brings us to the end of this week's Tech Talk. All right, I think we're going to call it quits on this particular episode. I want to thank everyone for joining in for our 59th episode, our Happy Halloween episode. Yes. And again, I want to thank my fellow compatriots for actually sticking around for this long, doing this fun little thing that we call the internet, the podcasting, the realm of just talking shit like we've been doing all along with our lives and all that. So I want to thank you, Trevor, Mike, and Gavin for pulling along with me and digging this.
Why, you're welcome, Troy.
Digging this hole that we've gotten ourselves into. But you know what? I'm glad I'm stuck in this hole with you guys because this is a fun place to be. So,
and we could use Gavin as a stepping stone to get out if we have to.
Exactly. Yeah.
Gavin, you're our ladder.
I want to dive right into those waves.
Right through his chest, right through the thorax.
It's a wormhole.
The funny thing about this is we actually have to keep that whole entire tech talk section because Gavin talking with the oceans, with the waves going on, and his hands moving around was just so beautiful that it shows up on the video. Again, so. Gavin, without you making any noise, the camera doesn't cut to you, so all that dancing you're just doing is just for nothing.
Well, you don't have that in just the four squares?
We haven't figured out how Trevor records it in single person.
So just say something and do a dance right now, Gavin.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm saying things. See, watch me say things. Here I am saying more things. Things to say.
All right, please stop.
There you go.
No.
I think that's an episode, guys.
All right.
I think
so
that's
I think
about it.
Collective goodbye, everybody.
All right.
Collective goodbye.
At least we ended at the same time.
Yeah, that's so true. Hey, it was another force shot too.
All right.
This has been Geeking Off the Page, a Planet Geek production. Please be sure to subscribe, share, rate, and review. You can find us at our social medias through Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. Search for Planet Geek Productions. On Instagram and Twitter, Planet Geek Pod. Or you can send us an email at planetgeekpod@gmail.com. So until next bad time, same Spider Channel, may the Force be with you, and thanks for tuning in.
Hey, there was a great quote of, Star Wars thing aside, is someone saying, so imagine you're Vader, your old mentor shows up, your kid, your droids, the kid you weren't sure that you had, and this guy driving basically a modified 18-wheeler, you'd be like, who the fuck is that guy? Bringing all these people from my past in. And then he shows up at the end, flying his modified 18-wheeler and shoots you in the ass. What the fuck?
Yeah, that's
if I was Vader, by the second movie, it'd be my mission to hunt down Han Solo.
Yeah.
Blow his fucking ship up because he just...
and funny enough, that's what he does.
Yeah, he made you his bitch. So, yeah. As Vader, I'd be pissed. I'd be like, man, he brings my droids, he brings my old mentor, brings my kids. Who the fuck is this guy?
Sorry, Mrs. Brown.
That's okay.
And for those still curious as what I am a coffin. Happy Halloween.